So we are going to move on to our next person, and that person is none other than Zubeida Jaffer, a lady that has done so much for our community, not only as an individual, but the Jaffer family as a whole has done Wynberg proud over many, many, generations and time. Business people of the area, garage owners, shop owners, but also people that have formed and shaped the future of Wynberg over the many, many years. So, two things. We have Mrs. Jaffer here today to speak about what she does, award-winning journalist. She owns her own editing and publishing firm. But what we also want to say is that we have information besides what she's going to share. Down at the Cape Family Research Forum, please make a turn. We've got a number of displays that could not come up to the wall. And one of the displays is that of a family. Please go and find where it is, Cape Family Research Forum. It's hidden behind the orange tent to find out more about Zubeida Jaffer and her family. We welcome Zubeida Jaffer to the front.
It's really, really wonderful to be here, Councillor. We haven't personally met, but I hope I have an opportunity and to see so many familiar faces. Nancy from Wynberg Can. I'm not going to mention all of you because there are many here that have been on this path together with all of us for so long. Oh, Ridwan, my neighbor, wants me to put my mic closer to my mouth, so let me do that. I'm absolutely proud and happy to see what Wynberg East Civic Association and the other, the Neighborhood Watch and everybody else is doing combined to bring people together. Because in the end, the strength that we have is who we are as a people. And often we are told that we are, or we get the message, in fact we have been given the message for a very long time that we are less and that we are not worthy of being included. But we have fought against that, we've stood against that. We've said we are as beautiful and as wonderful as any other human being. And we live by the ethos of the Islamic faith, Christian faith, other faiths that don't say that one human being is better than another human being. One human being has got challenges that another human being doesn't have, but we have got no right to discriminate. I saw the title of the talk, or of the day, which it says Wynberg Rewind. And I thought, there's so much I can tell you because my family's lived in Wynberg for over 60 years. And I decided consciously, I was away from Wynberg for a short time, but I decided to come back because I wanted my daughter to grow up in a community. I didn't want her to grow up behind a computer in a flat, an apartment in Johannesburg, even though I had opportunities to go work there. I wanted her to be part of that community, this community that I grew up in. And I think of that street that we live in, Lower Bath Road. And Munira, I must tell you that there was a time when I was a child when that street, we couldn't go out of our home on a Friday, because the back, I don't know if any of you know that street, but right across where you live now, where so many other people live, that whole street was a sort of a, it was, there were horses, and there were bushes, and there were people living in those bushes that were homeless. And on a Friday night, we couldn't venture out because there was drunkenness and brick throwing and, all sorts of things going on. But if we look at what we've done over the years, we look at how our parents and our families have worked together, that street is a very, very beautiful street now. That street is a street that we can all be very, very proud of. And so I feel that we need to look at all our streets and say, okay, what have we got? What don't we have? What are the problems? And what are the things that we value? Because we have come such a long way, and at the moment we are faced with great difficulties in a sense. We're faced with great difficulties in our country, we're faced with great difficulties in the world. We don't know exactly what's happening, if it's just a spiritual disconnect, people are disconnected, and so we are doing things that we shouldn't be doing. And this requires from us as a people, as a community, to start where we are. Like my father and his generation of people, I used to go with them on a Sunday morning to Beggar Road, to the Vigilance Association, and we had to carry the bricks, and we had to build the hall, which became our Muslim school. So Wynberg was built, and I hope that when we tell these stories, Wynberg was built with the sort of the voluntary work of endless numbers of people. So it's not the Jaffer family or any one family. It was a group of forward-looking families, a group of forward-looking citizens that came forward. All of you were many of you were part of it. And that is what we require today too, and we do have it. We are fantastic, we are beautiful, we represent so many different organizations, and in Wynberg alone, we have just so many possibilities to thrive. And I don't want to dwell completely on Wynberg Rewind and look back to the time when we went to Wynberg Park as children, and how we were chased away from the park, and how we were not allowed to play there because we were not white, and how we had to, the man, what we call the parkie, would come, and he would chase us from the park and chase us up to what they describe as the coloured park. And of course, you all know that we were excluded. We couldn't go to the schools. We couldn't do there were lots of restrictions and lots of difficulties. But we've overcome those to a large extent. And we need to now get together and say, okay, what's the next step? How are we going to go? What are we going to see for our area, and what can we do? And there's a lot that we can do. And again, as I say, I'm very, very proud, and I'm very, very hopeful when I see all of you gathered here together. Very, very hopeful, because it's in that coming together that we've always found our strength. And we mustn't start off by being scared and pushing people away. I know that in the country today, there's a lot of anti-foreign sentiment, but we must remember we were all foreigners to some extent. We were slaves, or we were forcibly brought here, but others also came voluntarily. And so many of us in this region were foreigners. And in some senses, from what my mother tells me, there was very bad treatment of people who were classified, coolies or, slamai or whatever it was. But I think that we are at a point where we have to understand that our stories and the way we tell our stories, and that's why this is so important, the way we tell our stories influence our minds. And our minds are the most important thing. If you in your family and your mind is weak and you don't have faith, then you are going to see every problem as the impossible problem. And you are going to, in your family, you're going to rubbish your family because you feel, look what's happening to us. But as we know, things pass. When we make the effort, it passes. And so the time is now for us to build in each other a lot of hope and confidence, because that is the crucial thing that has to happen. Because if we can keep our minds strong, then we are going to be, we can tackle anything because we have the people. We have the people here. So I've been told I've got 5 minutes left. I would love to talk endlessly and tell you many, many stories here. But I just want to end off with a last point about some of the work that I'm presently doing. As you know, I'm a journalist and a writer, and one of the things I'm working on, few of us are working on together, is the question of where does our story start? So does the story start in 1841 or 1829 or wherever? Does the story of this area start there? Or is that the British story? That is the British story or the Dutch story. This story starts way before that. There were people living here. And so when we tell the story, I hope that we can say and recognize that there were people living here in the mountains all over, and these people were pushed away. And that the story doesn't start in 1841 or 1800 or 1652. It starts way, as much as 36 or 3,000 years ago, the first human skull. They found a skull in the Eastern Cape that is over 3,000 years old, and that was a human skull. So there were people here endlessly. So I hope that you will take courage and face the challenges, but at the same time build hope and confidence for us to go forward, because we got nowhere to go. We are here, we are staying here, and we must make the best of our situation. Thank you very much.
Yes, we asked you to stay for a special reason. And we have Munira Karim with an award. And if there's the photographer, if you can come up to the front. Right. It is so. Weinberg East Civic Association appreciates Zubeida Jaffer for the research, documentation, and presentation of history untold stories. Weinberg Rewind, 24th September 2022, in recognition of your contribution. So we say shukran to Zubeida Jaffer. Yes, indeed.
I must just say that I thank you very much for this wonderful honor. But I really do stand here on all your shoulders. I really do stand here on, having been brought to a certain point by all the people that are in this room and more. And so I hope I receive this on your behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Zubeida. And I want to add to that in saying that, while you were talking for a few moments, I saw your dad walking with his suit, brown suit, red face, and hands behind the back. So if you are laughing, what I'm talking about. and that was a dad. And he would not have stayed away from any event of this nature. So in memory of him, today we recognize the work that he has done for the community as well.